Have you ever wondered if there really is somebody out there for you? Have you ever wondered if there is somebody for everybody? Or like, what if there isn't a lid for every pot? I don't think that there is somebody for everybody. And that's what we're going to talk about in this episode of Wonderful Life. So tune in to this episode of Wonderful Life. Wondered if there really is somebody for everybody. People say that there's a lid for every pot. I don't really personally believe that. And when I first started formulating this opinion, it was very scary to me. So I want to share some things with you because I'm going to actually show you how, if I'm right, it could be good for you. I'm Mary Dittman. I'm an award-winning business professor on the collegiate level and the creator of College on Fleek and Wonderful Life. Wonderful Life is all about creating a life that you're happy with. And maybe you're not happy because you're single, but you could be happy while you're single. I'm not a dating coach. I'm not a relationship coach. As I've said before, like, girl, if I was a dating coach and I could tell you how to get a man, I wouldn't even be here, okay? I'd be with my man right now. And there are a lot of women out there who love being single. I'm not one of them. I don't love being single. I've always wanted to be married and have a family. I'm way past 40 and that hasn't happened for me. And I got to the point where I realized I had to make peace with being single because it might not change. And that's what Wonderful Life is about. It's not about being happy because you're single, but it's about being happy and having peace while you're single. And hey, hopefully that changes and you find that relationship that you want. But if it doesn't, it'd be great to just be able to enjoy your life. So we hear this phrase that there's a lid for every pot, or there's somebody out there for everybody. And a lot of dating coaches and relationship experts talk about, your soulmate is out there, and if you just visualize and make a list, and you'll attract him, and if it's something you want, then it's meant to happen. And I'm a Christian, and so I've heard Psalm 37:4 repeatedly, which is, delight yourself in the Lord and he will give you the desires of your heart. And that's held out a lot of times to single women as, just be happy with God and then he'll send you a man. And honestly, I kind of have to call some BS on this. Now, this is where a lot of dating experts and relationship coaches are probably going to say, well, that's why you're single. Look at your attitude. But I got to keep it real with you. Listen, I think it's totally normal for women, and I know men want relationships too, but as a woman, I know that it's normal for us to want a relationship and to want that protection of a relationship and to be with a partner and to have a family. And that's a good thing. It's good to want that, but I don't think that everybody gets everything that they want. And when you just look at the numbers and the demographics just in the United States right now, it does not suggest that there is somebody for everybody. Now, it depends on what you're looking for, of course. But if you're looking for a higher quality, high value man, then there are fewer of those available. Listen, there are lots of great guys out there, and again, it really depends on what you're looking for. But just for today, I want to consider, what if you want a relationship and there isn't somebody out there for you? I have plenty of girlfriends, and you might know some too, who have always wanted to get married and always wanted to have a family, and there's like nothing wrong with them, okay? Like a couple of my girlfriends in particular that I think of, they are fantastic women, they're attractive, they're funny, they're smart, they have their S2G, they're shizzle together. They're great, but it just, for whatever reason, never worked out for them to get married or to have a family. And they both really wanted it very much. I have very much always wanted to be married and to have a family, and it hasn't worked out. I had to get to a point where I could consider, what if this doesn't happen for me? And I had to be able to make peace with that. So even if I'm wrong, and there is someone out there for you, and there is a lid for every pot, I want to share with you some things that are going to help you and help you to be in a more relaxed, peaceful place. A couple of things, though, I just want to propose about this thinking that there's somebody out there for everybody, there's a lid for every pot, you're going to find your man. That verse in Psalm 37:4 that says, delight yourself in the Lord and he'll give you the desires of your heart. The issue with that in my mind, and how I've always felt, is that, okay, delight yourself in the Lord, be happy with God, focus on what you're supposed to be doing, and then God will give you what you want. And so because I wasn't getting a relationship, I thought, then I'm not doing things right. God must be mad at me. But a relationship isn't a reward. And so this kept me in this like frantic, what am I doing wrong? God must be mad at me. What's wrong with me? And it kept me very like contracted and uptight, angry and scared. And so I would like to suggest that that line of thinking doesn't help you, that God doesn't reward people with giving them what they want. Because when you look at it, there are plenty of people who, quote, shouldn't have what it is you want. I remember a very good friend of mine went through a few years of infertility, and this was incredibly heartbreaking to her. She wanted to have children, and she and her husband did end up adopting, and they have a wonderful family. But before that, when she was trying to get pregnant, of course, every month she'd get her hopes up and then they would just be dashed. And there was like a second or third cousin or something in the family who was like 16 and got pregnant for the second time, like, oops. And for my friend, that was so painful. Like, she was saying, you know, I want to have children. I want a baby. And I'm stable and like, I would be a great mom. I'm ready to be a mom. And then there was this family member that was just like, oh my God, I'm pregnant. Ew. And would have the baby and just kind of pawn it off on the grandparents. And that was really hard for my friend because she felt like, that's so unfair. Like, I really want to be a mom, and here's this person over here who doesn't care anything about being a mom, and she already has 2 children. And so it can be really painful when you think that God gives us what we want because we're being rewarded. I tend to think that, you know, life has ups and downs. We get some things we want and we lose some things. There's also a verse in Job that says, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. So you have to accept that good things come in, sometimes bad things come in, or sometimes good things leave, sometimes bad things leave. And no matter what, that's the way it is. That's life. The second thing I think that's a problem with believing that there's someone out there for me is it keeps you always looking and it keeps you always disappointed. One of the suggestions that I had received from a well-meaning teacher was, every day when you wake up, just tell yourself, like, I might meet my Boaz today. Today might be the day that I meet my man. And that'll keep you in this, you know, state of anticipation. And then if it doesn't happen, then tomorrow you wake up, well, it might be today. And for me, that actually became very discouraging because I would keep telling myself, like, maybe I'm going to meet him today, and then I wouldn't. The other thing is that it would cause me to make bad decisions, because just because a man shows up in your life does not mean he is from God. Maybe I'll meet my Boaz today, and then some man would speak to me and I'd get all excited and prejudge the situation and think it was more than what it was. So walking around with this anticipation of, I know there's someone out there for me and I'm going to meet him, it can keep you in a state of disappointment. And when you're feeling disappointment frequently, then that is actually not attractive, meaning it won't allow you to attract that thing that you want. Okay, so let's solve some problems here. What do you do about this? Number one, ask yourself this question. If nothing changes and I remain single, what's it going to take for me to be happy? Now, I used to say, I can't be happy, because that's how much I wanted a relationship. That I just thought, I don't like to be single. I don't enjoy this, and I won't be happy if I'm always single. But I really got to the place where I had to make a decision. Do I want to be single and happy, or single and unhappy? And I don't have children, but what I understand from my friends who are parents is that you can't reward a child who's moping and throwing a tantrum. Like when you say to your child, no, we're not going to buy a new toy, and they pitch a screaming fit in the store and stomp around, you don't buy them the toy, because that teaches them that behavior is going to reward them, that they'll get what they want. And so in the same way, when we decide like, fine, I'm just going to be miserable, I'm single, I'll just be unhappy for my whole life, God doesn't look at us and go, okay, I'm going to give you what you want. It doesn't work like that. And the other thing is, if you're walking around all the time like, well, I'm just going to be unhappy because I'm single and I don't like it. Men don't like that. And there's not a man on the planet who's going to meet a woman who's angry or bitter or sad or moping, who's going to be like, that's the woman for me. And if you do find a man who's looking for that, girl, you need to run. So what would have to happen? And for me, I got to a point where I just said, I just want to have peace. That's it. I was so tormented with, why am I single? I don't want to be single. When is this going to change? Is it going to change? And I got to the place where I said, you know what? I just want to have peace. And that's when I started working on, what's it going to take for me to have what I call the wonderful life, which is I'm not happy because I'm single, but I'm going to be happy while I'm single. Secondly, you have to practice acceptance. Now, I used to not even be willing to do this. I was talking to one of my mentors one time, and she said, can you accept the possibility that you may never get married? And I said, no, because I thought accepting it meant I would be okay with it. And I was like, no. And she said, okay. Are you willing at some point to accept it? And I said, no. And she looked at me and said, there's nothing else we can do then. And I can't do anything else to help you until you get to the point where you are at least willing to get to a place where you can accept that you might be single. And what I've learned is that acceptance doesn't mean that you are choosing the situation. Here's a great example of what acceptance is. Let's say you want to go to the beach on Saturday, and you wake up Saturday morning and it's raining. It's pouring down rain. Now, that's not what you choose, and you wish it would be different. In fact, you hope maybe it'll clear up in an hour or two. But for right now, it's raining. Now, you can mope around and stomp around and be unhappy. I was going to go to the beach today. It was my only day off. But that's not going to change the fact that it's raining. you have to accept it is raining and you have to work with that. So whatever that means, like maybe you're gonna drive 4 hours and try to get away from the storm, or maybe you say, okay, I'll go get a pedicure, or I'll snuggle up and watch movies. Acceptance doesn't mean that you prefer that it's raining, but acceptance means this is the way it is right now and I am going to work with this. The cool thing about acceptance is that it helps you just relax. And it's in that space of being relaxed that you are more likely to attract a relationship, because then you're going to be happy and you're going to have peace. And that's where a lot of times when people say, hey, when you just relax, it'll happen for you. And so practicing acceptance is a big part of that. Fortunately, I did get to the place where I was willing to accept the possibility that I might end up single. And in fact, one time I was having a cup of coffee with a girlfriend and I said, I'm just, worried, like, I don't know if I'm going to be okay if I'm single. And she looked at me and she said, well, you're single now and you're okay. And that really helped me. And I said, yeah, you know what? I am okay. And it's up to me to go from I'm okay to I'm happy. Number 3, you have to decide what your priority is. Is your priority to be married or to have a relationship? Or is your priority to be happy? Again, I used to say, well, I can't be happy if I don't have a relationship. Okay, then your priority is a relationship. And that's going to possibly cause you to settle or make bad decisions. And many of us have been in a relationship where we weren't happy. And if being in a relationship is what you need for happiness, then why is the divorce rate so high? For me, I decided that I just wanted to be happy. That's my priority. And so by focusing on happiness, I've been able to be more accepting of the possibility that what if I don't meet somebody? And the reason that that's helped me feel more peaceful is because then I'm not afraid. Now, I wrote a blog on this, so if you would like to read the blog on why I don't think there's someone for everyone, then you can check that out at wonderfullife.com. And I would love to hear from you in the comments. Would you rather be single and happy, or in a relationship and maybe not happy, maybe not miserable? But would you take a relationship where you're just like, it's okay, but at least I'm in a relationship? Or would you, if you had to choose, say, okay, well, I'm going to end up single, which isn't my preference, but at least I'll be happy? And I'd love to hear in the comments which one of those two scenarios, if you had to choose, would you prefer? Thank you for joining me on this episode of Wonderful Life. As I said, you can always find more and connect with me at wonderfullife.com. Next time, we're going to talk about what do you do when your friend ditches you for her new man. That's next time on Wonderful Life.